talked about weather, and we've been talking about would you weather and how things are affecting Earth. So today we're going to talk a little bit about our winter weather and snow. So to start, we're going to make our very own snowflake. So what you're going to need is some pipe cleaners. You can use whatever color you want. You're going to need borax, a large jar, some scissors, some strings, and some water. So we're going to start by taking our first one, our first pipe cleaner, and we're going to cut it into 3 pieces. Try to make it as even as possible. Pretty close. And then we're going to take and kind of create a star pattern or a snowflake pattern with them by twisting them a little bit. So it looks something like that. And then we're going to take, you can use the same color or a different color, and you're going to cut 6 of these that are about 1.5 inches each. Alright, once you've got 6 of those cut, you're going to take them, and you're going to take your little pieces that you cut, and you're going to wrap them around, and you're going to create the ends of the snowflake. And remember, every snowflake's different, so you can do whatever pattern you want. If you don't want to make a snowflake, you can make a snowman. You can do whatever you want. But since we're talking about winter weather, we're going to be making a snowflake today. Alright, and then once we have that done, then we're going to want to find a pencil, a popsicle stick, a stirrer, a spoon, something that you can put across the top of our jar. And we've got a really large jar, so Taylor and I both are going to make our own snowflakes. So what we're going to do now is we are going to take our string and we're going to tie it to the middle of our snowflake. And then we want to measure to where our snowflake would be dangling about almost to the bottom, not quite all the way to the bottom. And we want to tie the string, or tape the string, or glue the string, whatever we need to do. And we want to put it on our popsicle stick or our pencil so that it is hanging kind of midways there, or closer to the bottom. Once you got your water measured out into our jar, and we know how much it's going to take, and you want to get that water boiling, once the water is boiling, you want to dissolve 3 tablespoons of borax. Please get a parent's help with this. Be very careful with it. And once you got your parent's help, we're going to dissolve 3 tablespoons of borax for every cup of water we have to use. You want to make sure that you have enough water that you're going to be able to cover your snowflake entirely. And then you're going to set it somewhere to the side, and it's going to need to set for a few days, and you can watch it observe as those crystals begin to grow. So we have our borax and our water here, so now we are going to try to stir until we get it all dissolved. Yeah, 3 tablespoons for every cup. So we had to use about 5 cups of water for ours. So that means we had to put 15 tablespoons of borax powder in here. And so it'll take a few minutes to dissolve. Keep stirring, but you want to get all those little pieces broken up and dissolved. Now that we have our solution all mixed, we're going to transfer our solution to the other container. All right, and so we're going to leave this sitting for a few days. Try not to touch it. Don't get anything on your hands because that borax is a laundry detergent. So make sure it sits for a few days, and we'll check on it a little bit later. All right, guys, so since we've been talking a little bit about winter weather, we're going to have fun and make our very own snow. So what you're going to need is 4 cups of baking soda that's been in the freezer because we want it to be really cold. And then we're going to need up to 2 cups of water. So we're going to start first by measuring out our 4 cups of baking soda. You're also going to need a bowl, obviously, to mix in and something to stir with. One of these little containers is about 2 cups anyways, so you can just kind of measure that in there. All right, and now that we got this, we are going to take our spoon. All right, and then we're going to start slowly measuring in our water. You want to do small amounts of water at once, and you want to make sure that water is really cold. So I mixed some water with ice, and I'm going to start by mixing in about a half a cup. Woo. Okay, you can see we're going to need a little bit more water. So we're going to try again here. Taylor, you want to stir that for me? Just keep stirring it away. So you want it to get to a nice powdery consistency that would be similar to snow. So it's going to be wet, but we want it to be kind of powdery and not all clumpy either. So remember we talked a little bit about our snow forming. So our snow forms when those molecules of water are evaporated from the Earth's surface, or they are brought up from our plants that are doing their process of photosynthesis. And then as their water droplets are bumping into each other in our clouds, they are forming even bigger droplets to the point they get so heavy the cloud can't suspend them. And as that happens, they will start to fall. But if it's really cold outside, which is below freezing, which is 32 degrees Fahrenheit, they're going to freeze on their way down, and it's going to create snowflakes. Alright, and so then once it gets to your consistency you want, you can feel that it's going to be really cold. And you have snow, and you can even form little snowballs with it. So this is a really fun activity. It's going to be messy, so ask your parents where you can do this. You don't want it in the carpet or on a bed or anything like that. You want it to be where you can play with it, so maybe outside or in the kitchen or on a table somewhere that it doesn't matter if it does get kind of messy. If you got a little too water and you have some extra baking soda left, you can mix in a little bit more baking soda to make it a little less watery, more clumpy. But you don't want it too bad. We want to definitely be able to feel that it is cold and a little bit wet. So So this is our fun representation of what making our own snow is. And it's a fun way to get our hands dirty. Very sensitive. Alright guys, so now we're working on making our borax crystals. We're going to make our very own snowstorm in a jar. So you're going to need a jar, some vegetable or baby oil or something like that, white paint. We're going to throw some glitter in to make it pretty, a little cup, a little thing to stir with, a teaspoon measure, and a 1 cup measure. So first we're going to start by pouring our jar full, or about 2/3 full of our oil. Alright, next we're going to take and get 1 cup of very warm water. Okay, and then we're going to dissolve 1 teaspoon of our white paint. You could also do a little bit extra if you wanted to, but we want to stay close to that teaspoon measure. We're going to dissolve it into our warm water. All right, you can see our water starting to turn colors. We're going to add just a little bit more in there. And once we got it mixed up, we're going to pour. All right, and so then once we've also got this in here, we're going to add some of our sparkles here so we can see this happen a little bit more. Oh, they're just going to float on top. That's cool. Alright guys, so Taylor is going to break up our Alka-Seltzers there in a couple pieces now that our solution has settled down, and she's going to drop it in a couple different spots so we can watch what happens. So we can see all of that white falling and moving all around in our jar, and some of our glitter moving around. And that is how we create snow in a jar. Now that we have done our snow experiments, let's learn a little bit more about the science behind snow. So how is a snowflake born? Well, dust particles will act as a nucleus for condensation. Water vapor will then condense on that dust, and droplets will grow. When cooled, that droplet will freeze into ice crystals. Crystals can grow up to 6 branches with arms. Crystals grow heavier as more water vapor condenses, and that will cause them to fall. Continued condensation can actually change the crystal shape as it falls. Here's a great example if we can look at our different types of winter weather that we can have. So, snow falls into warm air and melts into rain. Snow melt, hits cold air, freezes, and when it hits something, that is known as freezing rain. Snow melts, freezes into sleet as it travels through the air, is known as sleet. And falling into cold air, it never melts on its way down, and that is how we get snow. Here is a great example of the different types of snowflakes we can see. Every snowflake is unique, and that is because it goes through different warm air pockets or cold air pockets, or bumps into each other differently, and it creates them to be very unique and different types of snowflakes. Here we can see a great example of an up-close picture of a snowflake. So you're able to see each little individual arm and characteristic that this snowflake has. Even though this is a very, very tiny specimen, we're able to see a great difference from others that we've seen in the past. Up next, we're going to look at a winter weather wonderland, as we call it, and you're able to see that how much snow has fell. And if we look at our trees, you're able to see that it's piled full of snow, and it's actually causing some of those branches to sag down. So even though snowflakes are so tiny, over time, the more that falls, they're wet and they will become very heavy. So they lay a lot. Next, we can see our radar. So you're able to see in the south where we are that there's a lot of green, meaning rain. But you can look up north and you're able to see more blues and purples, and that indicates to us more of sleet, snow, hail, and more wintry weather mixes. Here's a winter forecast you can see that our meteorologists have made. So they look at the radar and they look at past trends like we've talked about, and they will make predictions for what our winter weather can look like. So you're able to see some people had a lot of cold, some people had cool and wet, some people had snow. And this is just a great example of, by studying tools, we can understand what might happen in the future.